to your 4 top ones. Even if you haven't completely finished it, come on back and you can finish it while I'm talking, but just come on into the group. I just want to continue on. What the exercise, when I do this with a team, we're trying to get team ownership, the same way that you talk about the All Blacks and that process of athletes and them taking ownership. Because what I have found is, in order to unite your team and create the standards, what really helps is if you come up with team values, whatever you want to call it, but instead of you as a coach just making them for years, I just made them and I powered them down. I have found it is so much more effective if you let your team do it. Really what happens, and actually with the programs I've been doing it with as a consultant, we do it every year. But as the culture grows, the players a lot of times will normally select some of the same ones, but the question that I always ask them on the back, and I put that so you have it, is what kept us from being our best last season? So as you're doing it with a team at the beginning of a year, and so these are our core values from last year. And, the veterans will all remember them and things like that. Okay, fine. Are these values going to get us to where we want to go now? And then they start thinking about it. And they'll come up, our attitude wasn't quite that good last year. So all of a sudden, there's some things that come up that help you as a coach. So really with this, the next step on it, and if we had time, sometimes in a workshop, if a workshop is designed just on this, we'd go through the whole process. But what it would be is, in this case, let's say you 4 right here, if you were the team, you'd compare what you thought your top 4, your top 4, your top 4. You'd do the same thing as a team. And then the team needs to come together and then decide what it is. And sometimes that would take 2 or 3 meetings that I would facilitate or a head coach would facilitate, but it was really healthy. Because a lot of these words are very similar. They're kind of like first cousins. They kind of mean the same thing. But at the same time, let the players really work at it. And then the coaches, depending on what the coach wanted, the coach would be in there too. The first couple meetings, sometimes the coach wouldn't be there, but then the coach would get involved and give what his would be. Then they all together sit down and talk about it. And what I encourage coaches to do, listen to your players. I mean, ultimately, the word isn't as important as the behaviors and the buy-in. I think there's 100 different words or so that you could use that would all help you get to that mission. This is a great way to do it. And I created, I don't have a slide of this, but if you would just take one of these and then just pass it down. It talks about the power of team values. When I go into a situation and we're trying to change a culture, This is the number one thing that I work with coaches on, is because when you read about the power of team values, that's all coming from personal experiences and things like that, as far as how it unites players. At the same time, it sets a standard. Because the next step with this, oh, you need another one? Yeah, sorry. Here you go. I do have a list of the different things. I think those are probably a lot of the same things. But that's why whether you call them core values or team values, that's why they're so important. Okay, so you just select, what you would have done just now is the four of you would have selected this is our team's core values. You would have done the same thing here. But that's just the beginning. Then what you got to get a team to do, you got to define them. Now those are nothing more than words. It's a great start. But now, as a coach, help your players understand what those words mean. Listen to them, because what they may have a completely different definition of that word, and you're defining as far as what it looks like both on the field and off the field. But first of all, get it defined as far as on the field. This is our standard. This is what right looks like. This is just an example of someone that had perseverance and then refuses to allow the second bullet is never quit. Refuses to allow their spirit to be broken. Starts and finishes all endeavors with a positive energy and enthusiasm. Okay, that's the standard. And so that we know that every drill we do, those are the rules of engagement. A player, and they help write these. Okay? This is not just me. This is me as a coach taking time, investing time to get players to do this.
As far as age and stage of development?
This has to be modified according to the age. Good point. It really has to be modified. For example, if this was youth sport, to give someone an exercise like this is a step too far. What I would do in youth sport is identify two important values, whether it's respect, responsibility, fair play, something that would be a message that you're helping your players understand, and you build your team on, whatever you want the team build on. This is now, players are older. I mean, they're older, and now they're at that point where they want to have a voice. They want identity. They want a team. Yeah. Transforming the values into actions, okay. I mean, that's the absolute key. Investing the time to identify, define, nurture, and enforce your core values could very well be the most important thing that you do this season. I always tell that to teams, and they wouldn't have me back year after year after year. This has helped teams succeed. It's part of the reason why our national championships won by our teams at West Point, when we put this framework in, within 3 years, the number of championships tripled. So I mean, it's amazing. Plus, academic grade point averages went up and disciplinary problems went down. There's a lot of great things. Here's the other piece, though. Okay, there's three parts of it. You got the values. You select them. You define them. Now you need to create, the team needs to create, you can call it a covenant, a code. It's what they mutually agree to, that they're going to hold themselves accountable and hold each other accountable. To really get to greatness, the last step is getting peer accountability. It's the hardest piece to get with the team. Peer accountability. This is one strategy that I have seen that has worked. This is an example of a team that I worked with. Actually, the head coach right now is at the University of Minnesota. She's been there now 3 seasons, and I'm working for the University of Minnesota with their women's soccer program, doing things like this. Just on the right-hand side, the team covenant, or they call it a code. If you read that, that's why you do it. The players understand. It's not the coach's responsibility. It is the players. They sign it. There's a covenant. Everyone signs it. And they know, if I sign that thing and I'm not living up to that standard, it's on all of you in your own ways to get me up to it. And that's another whole thing. We talk about how you go about holding peer accountability. And that's absolutely important. The last sentence, it is the responsibility of every team member to adhere and enforce the code. Adhering to it is the easiest part. Teaching players how to enforce it in a way that doesn't rip apart team respect, morale, that's the key. Okay, remember the process? And there were 5 things: the trust, the belief, mental toughness, accountability, and then the community. In the time that I've left, what I'd like to do, I'm going to choose one of those. And the one that I would like to talk to you about is belief, self-belief. I think you're all working with young people that really, at the age and probably where they are right now, that's absolutely crucial. I'm going to go through this. There's a whole business of trust. I apologize for going through this. You'll have these slides. The belief. The height of success is directly proportional to the height of someone's belief. Key concept that I think, a lot of times people, you got to believe in yourself, you got to believe in yourself. Or I give you something you read about self-belief. When it comes right down to it, belief is earned. It's not something you just wake up one day and keep telling yourself, I believe in myself, I believe in myself. Yeah, that may sound really good, but that first time you get knocked down and all of a sudden you're behind by 10 points, what happens? You don't have it. Players earn the right to believe by how hard they work. And that's you as coaches. Make sure, hold them accountable. Whatever, you said it, I think, that's what makes teams great and things like that, how hard they work and going that extra. Yeah, well, that's where that belief can come in. When people believe in themselves, it's amazing what can be accomplished. We all have seen teams like that. I mean, the All Blacks probably, the way they can come back, they do all these different things. Somehow, they refuse to lose. In other words, they believe. Great coaches, especially with the young players, okay, fine. They can't make that leap right now. They do, they'll crash and burn. Okay, for all of you right now, you know where they're at. I believe in stretching players. I think you have to take players out of their comfort zone, but you can't break them. And by that's where you are right there. Then you get them to that point where you know they can make that leap. There's no reason for them not to make it. And boy, once they make that leap, wow, they're ready for a growth spurt. Think about right now, what strategies do you use to help players believe? The average person has 60,000 thoughts a day, and 75% of those are negative. I believe all of us have 2 voices inside us. One's a positive and one's a negative. Your negative inner voice, your athlete's inner voice, your negative one is often the biggest barrier to overcome. I love this story. It's a tale of 2 wolves, and it's a Native American proverb. And the story is this: there's a grandfather talking to a grandson, and he's explaining that there's 2 wolves within every person, and the one wolf is positive and beneficial, The other wolf is negative, very, very destructive. The two wolves, we all have them, are inside of us. They're fighting for control in every situation. So the grandson asks his grandpa, well, which wolf wins? The grandpa says, the one you feed. I mean, it's very, very true. It's the one you feed. If your players, and if they learn how to feed the good wolf, I use that phrase all the time, feed the good wolf. I say it to myself when I start getting negative thoughts, which we all do. I know better. I've got to find a way to defeat the bad wolf. It may sound silly, but actually helping young players understand things in kind of simple terms really can make a huge difference. And then they get better and better. Some of the pro athletes I've worked with and people that played for me, they'll open up and, I mean, they'll say, the bad wolf never disappears. You don't eliminate the bad wolf. The bad wolf is always there. So it's unrealistic for working with young players for them to think, well, I can eliminate the bad wolf. No, the bad wolf lives there. But at the same time, the good wolf, you find ways to feed that good wolf so much that all it takes is one little morsel, and then you've got that bad wolf beat. And that's what we try to use positive affirmations, get players thinking, saying positive affirmations. Body language, so important. We teach body language. Body language is something that when you compete against an opponent, and we're competing, and you make a move, you score. You score. If I drop my head, he's going to look at me, and you know what? He's going to say, "Wow, I got him beat." Your body language and your athlete's body language help them understand. Be tall. You can't not let someone see you in a manner that gives them a competitive edge. Develop a mistake ritual. You know the sport's a game of mistakes. Have you worked with your athletes on a mistake ritual, whatever it may be? Because this separates great athletes from the rest. It's how they deal with mistakes. I had the benefit of a sports psychologist working with our team, and I always tried to learn from him so I could reinforce whatever he was teaching the athletes kind of in his lab. Well, when they're in my lab on the basketball court, I want to be able to be using the same language, same terminology. So if you ever work with someone, make sure that you're a team member and you understand. I'll just give you an example. One that he used with one of my athletes that worked is a simple delete button. And right on where the belt is, okay, fine. Just like on a laptop, there's a delete button. You make a mistake as an athlete, you know how sometimes the bad wolf starts. You hear that bad wolf, you just delete it. Okay, fine. It was initially physical, and in our sport, okay, fine. I make a mistake. Okay, fine. I'm running down the court, and I'm just pressing that button. I mean, it's almost automatic. No one would even know. And then eventually it got to the point where the player didn't even have to actually press the button. It was just he thought about it. And when he was thinking about the delete button, it took his mind away from the bad wolf. And next you know, he's next play, next action. There's so many different things you can do to help athletes get over things like this. No sweat, brush it off. I mean, you can do whatever, brush it off. It's just like American baseball. You know, there's so much time between plays. Okay, just brush it off. Okay, come on.
Some of that golfers, we told them the Taylor Swift song, Shake It Off.
Yeah. See, there's so many ways that you can do this. There's your body language. At West Point, we'd always say this: warriors don't slouch into battle. I mean, and to me, and we used to call our athletes, and the highest compliment you could give an athlete, he or she is a warrior. I mean, it's the highest compliment. It just means that mental toughness, everything you've got. And it's just like, yeah, carry yourself tall. It's really neat when you see a team do that. They carry themselves. I'm sure if I have the privilege of seeing the All Blacks, I didn't get a chance actually to see them. They were in Chicago. They played there, but I was in New Zealand just on my way flying back to the States, so I didn't actually see them. Believe in yourself, and with young athletes, I want them to understand you believe in yourself by being you. Get people to understand, be you. You've got to be you. You've got to be you. And as a coach, I wanted everyone to be who they are and then fit all the pieces into what makes a great team. It's that collective identity of what you want your team to look at all times. The mental toughness. These are the different pieces of mental toughness. You can call it whatever you want. But make sure that what does that look like in whatever sport that you're in. What's that mental toughness look like? You got to give them specific examples. In basketball, we had a whole list. This is what it looks like. And our drills, we made sure during our training, any drills that we did, part of that was it wasn't just skill execution. It was toughness. Mental toughness, because Coach K says this, mental toughness leads to physical toughness. When you get knocked down, it's mental toughness that always gets you up. It's not the physical toughness. Mentally, you got to be tough enough to tell your body to do what? Get up. It's a combination. I want to show you the last two slides. I'm going to have to go through this to get to them. Okay, reaching greatness. All these different things. Remember now, you're building a culture, and if I was going to give you a short quiz, not literally, but I want you to think about, okay, fine, there's three moving pieces. I know we talked about three moving pieces, and they all have to be lined and they have to be harmonious. Okay, fine. People, structure, process. But then go back in your notes and look at it and say, fine, okay, the structure. What did Ralph say? Okay, there's five things that he wanted me to kind of look at to see if my structure has. Check it out and see. This is all the how. This is go back with this material and check it out. And then the process. Well, Ralph didn't tell us but the specific processes, because each of our sports are different, but he did say that no matter what the process should be, there's 5 things that need to come out. Remember, the trust, the belief, that's what we were talking about, the mental toughness, accountability, a team, a sense of community or family. So when we put all that together, reaching greatness, wow, when a team becomes united and aligned, it seems magical. It really does. You can see it, you can feel it. They become greater than themselves. Someone said it in here, that last sentence. They bring out the best in each other and they refuse to lose. That's what we're striving for. That's what each of us, we're striving to get there. Is it difficult? It sure is. This was my right-hand person on my leader team for 3 years. Special Forces, he's a colonel now. 3 combat tours, just a phenomenal human being. I had just retired. I was in Singapore. I was giving a talk. I was talking about a team of greatness or a team of significance. And someone asked me at the very end, how do you know if you're on a team of significance or a team of greatness? So I gave my answer. I went back to the hotel and I just said, I have the highest respect for this individual. I mean, he's the type of person, if you could ever be in a foxhole, if you had to be in a foxhole with someone, this is the person to be with. I will give my life for him. I believe in him that much. He answered immediately, and this is what he said. You and your teammates set aside personal egos and put the team first and foremost. There are no words that can describe the mutual respect, trust, and sense of caring that you have with your teammates. Teams of greatness don't get stagnant or complacent. They take pride in performing at their best and going beyond the call of duty. Team members hold each other accountable. The team standard must be maintained, otherwise it's not a team of greatness. Pretty special words. And knowing him and knowing what he went through and what he's doing with the Special Forces right now, yeah, this is reality for him. I really appreciate, number one, the time, the effort that you made. I know I gave you quite a bit of material, but at the same time, I hope that what you're going home with is not just words. I hope that you're going with some ideas of how you can look at your program maybe even a little bit differently and then take that next step. Don't get discouraged. This is not going to happen overnight. Bite-sized pieces. The small wins make the big wins possible. So if you start introducing something new, keep all the good things, the great things that all of you are doing, and then just add one little piece and see how it fits. And then just keep fine-tuning it. So it's a beautiful process. So I wish you the very best. You're in a tremendous profession. You're impacting lives every day. And I'm sure I'll be back in New Zealand. There's contact information. If anyone's on Twitter, just about every day, although when I'm in New Zealand or on the road, sometimes I don't do it every day. I try to put one kind of motivational or team-building thought that I have. So keep in touch if you have any questions.